our podcast, Keeping It Real. Welcome back to Keeping It Real. I'm Irene Meyer, and today's conversation comes straight from what we're hearing every single day. Not from headlines, not from economists, but from real people sitting across the table from us. There's a phrase that's been stuck in my head lately, and it's really the backbone of this episode. Are people living on a borrowed life or on an earned life? And when I say that, I don't mean morally. I mean financially, emotionally, and really structurally. And Phil, when we were talking about interest rates and inflation coming into this episode, this phrase really just kept surfacing.
It really did, because it explains the tensions people feel but can't always name. Borrowed life isn't just debt. It's a sense that your life only works if nothing changes. If rates cooperate, if prices stabilize, if your job stays exactly where it is.
Yeah, and that's why interest rate announcements feel really personal now. People aren't casually following central banks. They're waiting for relief. They're really hoping a decision somewhere else will give them room to breathe.
Which is really a very different mindset than, let's say, 10 or 15 years ago. Back then, rate changes mattered, but they didn't carry this emotional weight that it is now. Now, a 1/4 point move can change a family's entire monthly reality.
Yeah, I remember when I was managing a bank branch, we talked about rate cycles in planning meetings. Today, clients talk about them like they're countdown clocks. Like if rates drop by then, I'll be okay. And if they don't, there's like silence.
And that's the borrowed life moment right there, when your stability depends on timing instead of structure. And really, the hard truth is central banks don't plan around individual households. Their job is inflation and employment. They're not thinking about your mortgage renewal or your line of balance, your line of credit balance, none of that.
Yeah, which makes inflation feel really even heavier because interest rates hit certain line items, but really inflation hits everything, right? You can't refinance groceries and you can't amortize your utility bill.
I wish we could, really. Actually, no, I don't. That would put us in even
No.
more debt.
Okay.
And that's why people feel confused when they're told inflation is cooling, but their receipts keep climbing. From their perspective, nothing feels cooler.
Yeah, what I'm seeing is people quietly using credit to defend their lifestyle, right? Not to upgrade.
Like I just said, right?
Yeah, and just to keep things normal. Like they don't do to upgrade, they just trying to keep things normal. I had someone recently, and I think this story will sound really uncomfortably familiar to a lot of listeners, who is effectively using their credit cards as income, like not consciously, not recklessly in their mind, just really gradually. They'd been spending freely for years, but they were climatized to lower interest rates, lower taxes on purchases, and really manageable, I guess, minimum payments. They really stopped looking at their statements because nothing ever seemed urgent. The payments always went through, but because they were maintaining those payments, the bank really kept offering limit increases, right? And each time the increase was accepted, it felt really harmless. It felt like more purchasing power. It felt like having more money available, even though nothing about their income had really changed. And really suddenly, without any kind of single dramatic moment, they were buried deep in credit card debt. Same groceries, same routines, same holidays.
Well, that sounds like everybody. Right? And that's
Yeah.
where borrowed life really takes hold. Debt stops being a tool and starts becoming a shield. What struck me with that client was the confusion. They couldn't understand why they felt more and more strapped every month. Their lifestyle hadn't changed, their income hadn't dropped, but the minimum payments had grown because the balance had grown. Without realizing it, they had taken on a level of debt that was now dictating their cash flow. The credit
Yeah.
card wasn't helping them anymore. It was quietly taxing their future.
Yes.
Right? That's the danger of being climatized. When pressure increases slowly, people adapt until they suddenly can't. You're not building, you're buffering. It's like the frog in the in the cold water, and then you start heating it up theory, right? They stay in
Yes.
there until they pass.
Yeah, 100%. And this really erodes savings in the background. Inflation doesn't just raise prices, guys. It punishes like your idle cash and really your unprotected income.
Exactly. And when savings stall or disappear, people lean even harder on future assumptions, future income, future market growth, future rate cuts. That's dependency.
Yeah, so let's slow this down for a second. Borrowed life isn't about bad decision. It's about fragility. It's a life that works only under perfect conditions.
Right. And one shock, one job disruption, health issue, rate reset, and the whole structure starts to wobble. And the system actually encourages this. Longer amortizations, easier credit, deferred consequences. It feels comfortable until it really doesn't.
Yeah, which actually brings us to another group we're seeing more and more is people who are climatized to low mortgage rates for a very long time. Like these are homeowners who did everything they were told was smart. They refinanced when rates were low. They consolidated debts into their mortgage. They reduced their payments. They freed up cash flow, and for years it worked. But now those mortgages are coming up for renewal, and the environment is completely different, which brings us to the other side of this conversation, right? An earned life. And earned life doesn't mean extreme or debt-free or living small.
No, earned life is about resilience. It's when your lifestyle is supported by cash flow, protection, and flexibility, not hope.
Yeah, it's quieter, like less reactive. People in earned life structures don't panic during rate announcements. They really just adjust. And this is where I want people listening to really hear this. Earned life is attainable, but it's rarely accidental, like it's built. And this
It's
is
true.
why working with an advisor matters, not to chase the next trend or react to the market, but to really structure your foundation properly, really early enough that you're not spending the latter or the later part of your life trying to fix things under pressure.
You know what? I mean, a great example of this mindset is Warren Buffett. Buffett started his financial journey as a teenager, not because he knew everything, but because he understood the value of structure and time. That early planning gave him flexibility most people never get. And what's important is that Buffett made mistakes. He's been very open about the fact that taking control of Berkshire Hathaway for the wrong reasons, stubbornness and emotion tied to the textile business was a mistake. Do you know that story? Do you actually know that story?
No,
He
actually, I
did
don't.
that because he wanted to fire his, he didn't like his boss, so he ended up taking it over because he wanted to fire his boss. That was his emotion. That was the reason why.
Really?
Yeah, that was the whole story to that. It was
Oh,
literally an emotional decision that
that's
he understood. Like later, he realized was a mistake. But that mistake didn't bankrupt him, though. He did derail his life because he had already had a financial foundation in place. He studied under Benjamin Graham at Columbia Business School and later worked with him, absorbing foundational principles like intrinsic value, margin of safety, and rational decision making. The same protective mindset that allowed him and Charlie Munger to build the entire Berkshire Hathaway strategy without being derailed by mistake. Buffett has also publicly said that he had focused earlier on insurance companies, which later became a cornerstone of Berkshire's success. He would have been far better off financially much sooner. That earn life, not perfection. Structure that gives you time, control, and the ability to enjoy your life without being at the mercy of markets or headlines.
That's a really powerful illustration, Phil. And it actually highlights why building an earn life with guidance is so valuable. Like the principle of protection and margin of safety isn't theoretical, it's what allows you to make mistakes, adapt, and still stay on course. And most people never hear these foundational ideas until something breaks. What we're trying to do is give people the structure first, not after the crisis.
And the shifts don't have to be dramatic. Stress testing your life at higher rates, separating needs from finance wants, putting protection in place before chasing returns.
Yeah, small moves compound faster actually than waiting for the perfect economic signal.
And just so you're aware, borrowed life isn't a failure. It's very common. Earned life is a choice and a process.
And if this episode felt a little close to home, that's okay. Awareness is where really change starts.
Next time, we'll continue this conversation by talking about how protection planning fits into an earned life framework without fear tactic.
Yeah, thanks for spending this time with us on Keeping It Real. To everyone listening, remember your financial life is a journey, not a sprint. Start with structure, make decisions with control, and give yourself the gift of time. You're in charge of your life, not the market. See you on the next episode.
Bye, everyone.